Welcome to Audio Able, an extension of our blog at Able United. We know there are a lot of resources available, and navigating them can be overwhelming. So we created this series to help you. We'll take a deeper dive into the important issues and topics affecting the disability community. We'll also get to hear from guest speakers who serve or represent individuals with varying disabilities and experts on available resources. We hope you'll spend some time with us to listen in. Now, let's get right to it.
Welcome back to another episode of Audio Able, where we dive into the world of financial empowerment and success stories within the disability community. I'm one of your hosts and an Able United spokesperson, Steph Conti. If you're viewing this episode on our YouTube channel, I'm conducting today's interview in my home office. I'm wearing a blue shirt, I have black headphones on, and I'm speaking into a microphone. In today's episode, we'll be answering the question, how can families best prepare for the IEP process? IEP stands for Individualized Education Program, and this process is a crucial step in ensuring that students with disabilities receive the support and accommodations they need to thrive in an educational environment. But it can be complex and often overwhelming journey for parents and caregivers. Today, we're honored to have Amy Scott Lorton as Special Education Consultant and Advocate at My IEP Advocate. Amy has years of experience helping families effectively prepare for the IEP process, making it less intimidating and more successful. Amy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on the program.
Wonderful. So let's dive in. Amy, can you briefly explain what an IEP is and why it's so critical for students with disabilities?
Great, thank you. An IEP is an abbreviation for an Individualized Education Program. The provision for IEPs is under the 2004 Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, or IDEA 2004, which is a federal anti-discrimination law first enacted in 1975 as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. The IDEA protects an individual's right to a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment according to a student's individual needs. Under the IDEA, the IEP is an education program that is required for eligible individuals whose disability adversely affects their educational performance and/or ability to benefit from general education. An IEP is intended for students with specific disabilities who require specialized instruction and services. Students with IEPs receive special education services designed to meet their unique needs. And these services are at no cost to the parent and can be delivered in the classroom, at home, in hospitals and institutions, and in other settings. The IEP is developed at an IEP meeting. A written plan, which is also known as the IEP, is developed by a multidisciplinary team, which includes the parents, the student, school personnel, and any other stakeholders. The local educational agency, oftentimes that's the school, is responsible for implementing, monitoring, and reviewing the components of the student's individualized education program. Under the IDEA, an eligible student is one who has one or more categorized disabilities as defined by law. And IEP eligibility age under Part B of IDEA is from 3 to 22. So that's an IEP in a nutshell.
Wonderful, thank you. And what are some of the common misconceptions or myths that families have about the IEP process, and how can we address them?
Good question. One misconception that I hear often from parents is that they don't feel like they can be part of the process, that their questions and their concerns and their requests are not important. Their students' input is not important, that the school-based team or the institution, the LEA, is the one that's deciding all of the factors involved in an IEP, and this is not the case at all. Parents and students are key team members of the IEP and should be involved in the process and take an active role. Another misconception that I hear a lot from parents is that they're told that their students who are performing well or on grade level with A's and B's do not qualify for an IEP, and this is not true at all. Also hearing that IEPs are not for gifted students who also have a disability. The IDEA does have a provision for students who have a disability and are also gifted to be eligible for an IEP. And this is called dually exceptional or twice exceptional students. And then another misconception that I hear is that IEPs go with you to college. They do not. Once a student graduates or turns 22, the IEP is no longer in force. But a student with a disability can qualify for a Section 504 plan in college to address their accommodation needs in the college or university setting. But that's a topic for another episode. The last thing I wanted to share is that parents should not feel like they can't invite someone to a meeting. That's a common misconception, that they have the right and the opportunity to invite someone to the meeting with them. And I encourage parents, do not go alone. Bring someone with you to the meeting, whether it's a family member, a friend, a therapist, or a special education advocate. And they can be there to support you and take notes for you and be another set of eyes and ears in the meeting.
Thank you. So what are the initial steps that parents should take when they first learn that their child may need an IEP?
The first step they should make is to contact the school in which your child resides. And that would be the school district or the school itself, and request an initial evaluation for special education. Your request should be in writing and should list any assessments and special concerns or specific questions that you would like for the school district to include in their evaluation process.
Wonderful. And what about the documentation and the information that parents should gather and bring to these IEP meetings, to ensure that they're well prepared?
It's important to compile and organize all information about your child's disability, including their diagnosis, their medical, therapeutic, and educational assessments and records that they have received from their private providers, and share pertinent information with the school district assessment team. And don't forget to include your students' input in your preparations if your student's old enough to articulate their own needs. And I would encourage to create a written plan going into the meeting. I consider it a parent-student agenda that includes both you and your students' questions, concerns, requests, and proposals for the team. And then also consider sharing educationally relevant information from your students' private providers with the team, such as testing results and recommendations for the classroom.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. So what are some of the services that you offer to help families prepare and navigate this process?
I have a wide range of menu of services available for families. First, we offer consultations, and we can do that over the phone, by video, in person, and that helps provide answers to questions about your student's IEP, gifted education plan, or Section 504 plan. We also offer meeting preparation, attendance, and participation services, which provide advice and assistance to prepare you before the meeting, participate during the meeting, and consult with you after meetings. So we're there with you every step of the way. Offer review and analysis services of IEPs and 504 plans and gifted education plans, so that we can help you with organizing and interpreting your students' assessments and plans, and discuss findings with you and make recommendations. And then we also offer trainings and workshops. We provide workshops and trainings and seminars to organizations and interested groups who support individuals with disabilities, and topics vary and can be customized to your group.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I want to also add that an Able United account can be used to support and prepare families financially, ensuring that individuals with disabilities have the means to maintain their quality of life and independence throughout their life. Able accounts provide a flexible and accessible way to save for various needs, including education, housing, transportation, healthcare, and employment-related expenses. So Amy, before we close out, I wanted to also see if you could address some of the stigmas that may be associated with, an IEP process. I know you had mentioned that it's not going to follow the student all the way to college, but I'm sure there are also some stigmas while they're, going through their educational career that they may be seen differently from other students or from other teachers as well, by their teachers.
We all have human needs, and we all have special abilities, and we all have ways that we learn differently. So I think for most students who have an IEP, that is something that is not necessarily viewed differently by their peers. And so I think to encourage families who are concerned about, as you call it, any stigma that may be associated with a student having an IEP, know that all students are expected to be taught individually, and that students who have an IEP are not necessarily singled out in the general education setting. Some do have special settings that they are located in, but for the most part, I think it's not so much a negative for a student to have an IEP, and parents should focus on the fact that their student is getting what they need and an appropriate plan for them so that they can have success educationally in the setting where they are.
I love that. I appreciate that feedback because we're starting to go through the IEP process for my son too. So I know that some of my family members, they were concerned about, the stigma that that would be associated with it, and it kind of be like a marker on his back, but that's not the case if he's getting the help that he needs. So it's wonderful. So we always like to close our interviews with this question. If listeners were to take one thing away from our conversation, what would it be?
I would encourage listeners to take an active role in their child's IEP. This is because the IDEA describes a parent's role as, and I quote, equal participants along with the school personnel in developing, reviewing, and revising the IEP for their child. This is an active role. So parents, you are the key member of your child's team. Remember, you know your child best. You are an expert too. Your active role in the IEP process is vital to your child's educational success.
I love that. That was perfect. I love too that it included revising. It shows that it can be revised along the way for changes that are necessary. Well, Amy, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit down with you for another episode of Audio Able. We hope our listeners learned something new today. For more information on all the incredible resources that My IEP Advocate has to offer, visit myiepadvocate.com.
Well, that's it for now. Have topics you'd like us to address? Interested in sharing a resource? Drop us a line at info@ableunited.com. Thanks for listening in, and we'll catch you next time on Audio Able.